It's the Big East in 12. Today we'll look back at the first season of the new Big East, and Dan Marcello will give you a look forward on what to expect as the season rolls on. We'll also head to the debate desk where Steve and Auld will take on our all-star panel of guests. We'll get you ready for the Big East tournament in Madison Square Garden. Don't you dare go anywhere. It's the Big East in 12. We have 12 minutes to get you caught up to speed on the 2013-2014 Big East basketball campaign. We've got no timeouts, no fouls to give, but the possession arrow is in our favor. Let's dive into some highlights. We'll start on January 20th in the city of brotherly love. It's Creighton at number 4 Villanova at the time, and it was the Ethan Raggy show. Knocks down the three, receives a pass, and does it one more time from way deep. We'll show one more for good measure. He knocked down 8 of 10 three-point field goals in the first half, and this was number 9 on the game, which was a Creighton record for threes in a game. Final score, Creighton 96, Villanova 68. Bit of a shocker as number 7 Michigan State traveled to the Mecca Madison Square Garden to take on Georgetown. Here's 2 of 20 from Gary Harris as he got to the hole and finished. But Nate Lubick shows off his basketball IQ to go along with his book smarts. He gets an easy layup after the inbound. Here's another look at that heads-up play. Now it's Markel Starks. After giving the ball off, gets to the hole and jams. Georgetown was up 5, and Coach Thompson III was loving his play from the Hoyas. After a loose ball, Jabril Trowick out front, 30 seconds left with the jam, the exclamation point, and the Hoyas pull off the big upset during their rough season, beating Tom Izzo and Sparty 64-60. So Creighton have established themselves as the gatecrasher of the Catholic Sevens party this season, sitting atop of the conference with a 12-2 record. Providence hanging tough in the middle of the pack, but they'll need to go on a run to get back into the national picture. Don't look now, Steve Lavin and the Johnnies are surging of late, beating the Friars and conference strugglers Butler. To give us a look on the big games ahead, let's bring in Dan Marcello in his week ahead preview.
I'm Dan Marcello, and here are some exciting upcoming matchups to look out for in the Big East Conference. Providence College Friars, led by big man Kadeem Batts and sharpshooter Bryce Cotton, will host the Villanova Wildcats at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, Tuesday, February 18th. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Batts leads the Friars with 7.7 rebounds per game, and his fellow senior Cotton averages 20.8 points per game. The Friars currently hold a record of 16-8 and are in 4th in the Big East Conference. The Wildcats head to the Dunk, led by senior guard James Bell and sophomore sensation Ryan Arcidiacono. James Bell is averaging 16 points per game and 5.8 rebounds per game. Arcidiacono is averaging 9.5 points per game, 2 rebounds per game, and 3.6 assists per game. The Cats are currently 6th in both the AP and USA Today polls and hold a record of 21-2 and are currently 1st in the Big East Conference. Before Jay Wright and his Villanova Wildcats head to battle the Friars in Providence, they must travel to Omaha, Nebraska to take on the Creighton Blue Jays, which is no easy task. The Cats and Jays play on Sunday, February 16th. Tip-off is set for 5:07 p.m. In these two teams' prior meeting, Creighton hit a Big East record 21 three-pointers and beat the Cats 96-68. Creighton is currently 19-4, second in the Big East Conference with a conference record of 9-2, and are ranked 12th in both the AP and USA Today polls. The Blue Jays are led by their star shooter, Doug McDermott, who is averaging 25.3 points per game and 7.1 rebounds per game. He is now emerging as a possible NBA lottery pick. On Saturday, February 22nd, the new Big East takes on the old Big East, as the Xavier Musketeers take on the Georgetown Hoyas. The Musketeers travel to the Verizon Center in the nation's capital to take on John Thompson III's Hoyas. Tip-off is set for 11:30 a.m. Xavier is currently 16-7 and are ranked 3rd in the Big East, while Georgetown currently holds a record of 14-9 and are 7th in the Big East with a conference record of 5-6. Sophomore sensation guard Samaje Christian is leading the Musketeers with 16.9 points per game and had a season-high 27 points in a win versus DePaul.
Back to the Friars really quickly. They've had success against Nova in the past, with PC's last win against a ranked opponent coming against the Cats on the back of a Bryce Cotton buzzer beater in 2011. It's time now to get the opinions of our staff on this season and much more over at the debate desk. So we're going to transition over to the debate desk after we've looked at what's happened in the Big East and what will happen. And I'm joined with Steve Auld, who will be staying at the desk for the duration of this segment. And in our rotating seat first is Nick Tartaglione. And we're going to start out with the new look, the new Big East landscape. Nick, what do you think about the Big East?
Personally, Jared, I am not a fan of the new Big East. I call it the Big Least now because I just don't agree with the transitions that they had to make. What comes to mind when you think of Big East basketball, you think of the classic rivalries that everyone's become so accustomed to. You know, you think of your UConn, Syracuse, Villanova, Pittsburgh, and so on. You know, even Louisville and West Virginia, when they were in the conference, they made it very competitive, entertaining to watch. People aren't going to want to tune into a Creighton versus Butler Big East championship. I mean, that's not going to happen. And when you take like three of the most prestigious basketball schools, not even in the conference, but in the country, and you swap them out, you know, with formerly mid-major schools, that's like trying to replace Bono with Chris Daughtry in U2. That's not going to happen. Not going to work.
I don't know if Chris Daughtry is that bad.
No, he is. He is.
I mean, you were just talking about some of the teams that have added. I mean, look at Creighton. They started 19-4, and they've got like a player and coach of the year candidate. So I mean, it's kind of hard to argue against that. And I like the slimming down process because it gives more teams a chance. I mean, look at Providence. I mean, the last couple of years they've been kind of stuck in the mid area, but they've been moving up, and they've actually had chances at the tournament, though. They're starting to wane a little bit now.
Yeah, well, I mean, the schools that have replaced them, they were in mid-majors to begin with for a reason, you know? They're not going to be on a national spotlight. I mean, no one tunes in like, hey, let's go home tonight. Let's watch that Creighton game. You know, that's not going to hear that. You're going to hear, oh, let's see that Syracuse game tonight. That's not going to happen like that. You know?
Now, you've touched upon the new Big East landscape, what you like, what you don't like. I want to know if you could bring one team back. A lot of those teams have won national titles that have jumped ship. Which one are you bringing back to the Big East?
I've already said them a few times, but I'd have to go with Syracuse just because, I mean, you think about all the history in the Big East. I mean, you kind of associate the Big East with Syracuse. Jim Boeheim, he's an icon in the conference. They've won the national title with Carmelo. They've been to a few other ones. You know, they're always, every season, they're going to start out 20-0. They're going to reload. It doesn't matter. The players they lose, they're just entertaining to watch. They always bring in a big crowd, too. So.
Steve, give me a quick hit. Who are you bringing back to the Big East Conference?
Living where I do in Rhode Island, I like to go with the local teams. I try to bring back UConn if I could, because I mean I've always liked the UConn Huskies.
Understandable.
I mean, Mecca Okafor winning all those championships.
Gordon, yeah.
Yep.
Well, perfect segue there as we stay local, and we'll hit the next debate topic, staying even more local than UConn, as Providence right now currently sitting third in the Big East Conference, but there's question marks about how their season will finish out, a short rotation, and they've struggled as of late. We'll bring in Dan Marcello to take on Steve Auld, Where do you see this Providence team going from here? There have been issues. They've played well at times, but they've also looked poor in some games.
You know, honestly, coming into the season, I was a big fan of Providence. I thought they were getting the big push from the Fox Sports Network. And, you know, to me personally, I really thought they had a shot to actually be a top 2 team in the Big East. But right now, honestly, I just feel like they're going to have to obviously get into the only way they can get into the tournament is for them to win the Big East tournament. And I think they actually do have a very good chance of doing that. But their at-large bid, it's over. There's no more chance for them to be an at-large team, in my opinion.
I do like Providence's talent. I mean, they got Kadeem Bats, they got Cotton. I mean, they do have talent, but here's the Achilles heel. They have no bench. They've had suspensions, injuries. They've got 6 players virtually right now. And if you have to play a physical game like they tend to play, if you have no bench, you're not going anywhere because you need to be able to have people who can play minutes off the bench, take some fouls. They don't have that right now. And if you don't have that, you got to face teams like Villanova and Creighton. That's going to be tough just to get out of the Big East tournament, let alone get into NCAA.
Yeah, the way I look at Providence is they go as far as Kadeem Bats goes. He's their big guy on both ends of the floor. And Bryce Cotton will get his 30 points in whatever game, but to me, Kadeem Bats is the physical presence they need, and, you know, you can't rely on, you know, Francis or, you know, Bancroft to come off the bench and win you a game. You need Kadeem Bats to be on his A game to win a Big East title for the championship tournament.
Steve, real quick, he brought it up. As you mentioned, Bryce Cotton, one of the best players on this team, playing 29.5 minutes a game. Who is that secondary player, maybe even third player down the line, because you've got Cotton and Bats, who needs to step up to really push this Providence College team over the hump?
Really, in my opinion, the one guy who's got to pick it up is he's a good rebounder, but I think he needs to start scoring more points as the center, DeRozier's. He's a good 7-foot physical center who can get a lot of rebounds. If he can start scoring points with Kadeem, that could be a lethal 1-2 punch as far as rebounds and points go.
Well, we had some hot takes here at the desk, and we'll send it over to Nick Tartaglione with his picks, which will be even hotter than those. Nick, take it away.
Hello, and welcome to Nick's Picks. I'm Nick Tartaglione, and as predicted, these are my picks. Greg McDermott from Creighton is my runaway pick for Coach of the Year. Not only has he overseen a smooth transition to the Big East, but his team has shot straight to the top while putting together some impressive wins. None more so than the 28-point shellacking at Villanova on January the 20th. Apologies to Ed Cooley and Jay Wright, but this is McDermott's award. The Player of the Year award is a closer race than the last one, but the award should ultimately go to Doug McDermott of Creighton, turning the Big East award ceremony into a McDermott family reunion. It's the two-man race between seniors McDermott and Bryce Cotton of Providence. McDermott is the leading scorer in the Big East, followed by Cotton, who's also leading the Big East in assists per game. What sets McDermott apart from Cotton is his high field goal percentage, and that if you take McDermott away from Creighton, the only Big East award they win is the school which the most people don't know the location of, beating DePaul in overtime. Even though Creighton is the leader and gave Villanova a beatdown at home, bad enough to make them want to move in with their auntie and uncle in Bel Air, I still see the Wildcats ultimately coming out on top. There will be more pressure on the Blue Jays to see if they can hold on to their surprising lead, which will allow Villanova to go under the radar and quickly run the table. And when the two teams meet up again 2 days after Valentine's Day, don't expect the Wildcats to leave Nebraska singing Taylor Swift lyrics, unless they're just fans of her music. It's too early to predict what the field will look like in terms of seedings, and if I were to guess correctly now, then I'd simply be putting Warren Buffett on notice come tourney time. But I like 4 teams in particular to advance ahead of the pack. This, of course, includes Villanova and Creighton, who I've discussed, but the other 2 teams I can see causing some damage in the tournament are Providence and Xavier. Providence is off to their best Big East start in years and is the only team to knock off Creighton. Xavier, despite losing 3 straight games, has done a nice job adjusting to Big East play after coming over from the A-10. Don't be shocked if either of these teams become the first basketball team to put on a show at Madison Square Garden this year. Sorry, Knicks. As we've seen over the years, anything is possible when the lights come on at Madison Square. Whether it's the household names such as Patrick Ewing and Ray Allen, or the one-hit wonders like Troy Bell and Jerry McNamara, a show is always guaranteed. However, my pick for the tournament champion is going to be Villanova. I feel that they are the Big East team that is most built for success come March. But this is a wide-open first season in the new Big East where I could see any team in the field getting hot at the right time and going on a crazy run. Well, any team other than DePaul, of course. I'm Nick Tartaglione, and thanks for tuning in to Nick's Picks.
So now you've got a little under a month to get ready for the Big East tournament in basketball's Mecca, Madison Square Garden. For everyone here at the Big East in 12, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Have a great afternoon.